Hey, why does God do what God does? Have you ever wondered that? Sometimes we just don't know. It's the mystery of God. My name is Lena, and today we're in Genesis chapter 12. I've called a deeply personal God, and we go from a God who's been dealing with people, generally speaking. We saw him starting to have a personal relationship with Noah, but really now in Genesis 12, we see the beginning of a very deeply personal thing between God and Abraham. Abraham was living in a land that worshiped false gods, and in the midst of that, God isolates him and sets his heart on him and says, Abraham, I've got a plan for you, and you can either take it or not. And by God's grace, Abraham took it, and I'm so happy he did. Here's what the verses say. It says, now the Lord said to Abraham, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. In Genesis 15, God repeats that covenant with Abraham, and then I think towards chapter 20 or so, he does it again. And it's a pretty awesome thing when God tells you to do something, and you have a choice. He's given us the will to either obey him or not. And by God's grace, you want to know Abraham's response before I say any more? Let me just give you the punchline or the spoiler alert. It says in verse 4, so Abraham went as the Lord had told him. In Hebrews 11, we're told that he went not knowing where he was going, but by faith he went. And that is always the invitation of God. After Abraham, we were all invited to follow the same God. And of course, the promise made to Abraham was unique in that it was through the seed of Abraham that Jesus would be born. And so much that happens in the life of not just this man and his children, but then later on, as we get into Exodus, in the nation of Israel, which became a nation by God's providential plan. And God, again, through the protection of this nation that had every opportunity to be destroyed, God would still protect them until, of course, thousands of years later, Jesus would be born through the seed of Abraham. Listen, at one point, Abraham went 25 years without any children. So God had given him a promise, and yet for 25 years, Abraham saw nothing. And in that season, he had to simply believe God. Listen, we believe God at salvation when we first say, I'm going to leave everything behind and follow Jesus. But then comes a time and a challenge in our faith where we're walking by faith, where we might not see yet the result of that which God has promised us, but maybe like Abraham, you and I can continue to follow God, not knowing where we're going, but sure of this one thing, that this God who is faithful and good and who created this whole earth, starting in Genesis 1, and who created man good, and then allowed us to not just to fall, but then offered us salvation in that fall, and has continued to give us his grace over and over again. That same God is worthy to be trusted no matter what you're facing today, no matter how long the promise is delaying. Hey, won't you go, even though you might not know where, because of how good God is? If you don't know God, would you put your faith in him today? That's the invitation for you today. In the meantime, have an awesome day, and I'll catch you again tomorrow.